Pep Watson, Crime and Justice TV, and this is the Crime and Justice TV Weekly Bulletin. This week's news. Crime and Justice TV engages global news media organisation Sky News in an epic hijack at Whitehall as a result of Sky News abandoning all 2,500 IPP political prisoners of the state. Also this week, Crime and Justice TV exposes an improved probation hostel in Dorset, UK, exposing an entrenched culture of institutional racism, abuse and bullying of vulnerable residents with learning difficulties, as well as widespread Class A drug dealing and drug use on the AP premises. Also this week, Prisons Minister Rory Stewart has abandoned his job description of Prisons Minister, resulting in an increasing prison suicide death toll. And also this week, grassroots pressure movement, the National Family Action Alliance, has this week released video footage of the pressure organisation hijacking Francis in Bed with the Enemy Crooks Howard League AGM event with Conservative Party British government politician Bob Neill. The pressure movement challenges the politician on the alarming death toll attributed to the barbaric IPP sentence. This week's top story. Sky News have abandoned nearly 2,500 IPP political prisoners of the state in England and Wales. The banned and barbaric controversial IPP sentence was banned in 2012 after a damning ruling at Strasbourg at the European Court of Human Rights. Strasbourg condemned the IPP sentence as illegal, inhumane and arbitrary. Despite the IPP sentence abolition, legislation was not retrospective. Therefore, the current Conservative government have left short tariff IPPs with tariffs ranging from between as little as only 28 days to 2 or 3 years, languishing in prisons, and some of them have now served nearly 14 years in custody. Near 70% of the near 2,500 current IPP population are self-harming, and major loss of life is attributed to the IPP sentence, as is a death count that has now exceeded both Hillsborough and Grenfell Tower. IPP can only be described as a massacre, and IPP is the biggest and worst mass miscarriage of justice in modern European political and criminal justice history. IPP is an unparalleled act of barbarism inflicted by the British government against their own people. Sky News agreed to meet with Crime and Justice TV on 3 separate occasions, and on all 3 separate occasions, Sky News failed to honour their agreement. So, on Friday the 29th of March, CJTV located Sky News Home Affairs and Crime Specialist producer Jordan Milne for comment.
Jordan, Pep Watson, Crime and Justice TV. Do you have a comment for the 2,500 IPP prisoners, 90% of which remain detained over their tariff, 70% of which are self-harming, and they have a death toll higher than that of Grenfell Tower and Hillsborough? Do you have a comment from Sky News to Crime and Justice TV? Empty promises. You agreed to meet and talk on a number of occasions and then failed to honour the agreement. Do you have a comment for the family of Tommy Nicol, who died after 2 parole knockbacks because there was no courses available? Do you have a comment for the family of Charlie Noakes? No comment No comment, Jordan. No comment for
off?
Crime and Justice
Let's
TV.
Can you please move away from me, sir?
Sorry, mate.
Can you move away from us, sir?
Well, people are dying.
Can you move away from us, sir?
People are dying.
Can you move away, please?
IPP prisoners are dying.
Can you move
all
away
over the
from my
country.
space?
Well, it's not your space.
You're infringing my space.
No idea why I'm here.
I don't care why you're here.
No comment. No comment for Crime and Justice TV, Jordan. No. So Sky News have abandoned IPP prisoners. All IPP prisoners, political prisoners of the state. Yeah. No comment.
Sky News has abandoned the plight of IPPs suffering catastrophic breakdown in mental functioning. Sky News has also abandoned the families of IPPs seeking justice for dead IPP blood. Sky News has abandoned the long-suffering family of now deceased IPP prisoner Tommy Nicol. Tommy Nicol endured back-to-back 2-year parole board knockbacks under former chairman Nick Hardwick due to the state being unable to provide the necessary offender and behaviour courses that Tommy needed to complete to progress towards release. Tommy Nicol endured 80 days in isolation in a segregation unit where he endured catastrophic destruction in his mental health. Tommy cut his face up and was observed rocking in his cell before he committed suicide. At the inquest into the death of Tommy Nicol, Government instructed and Ministry of Justice instructed specialist Queen's Counsel barristers embarked on a vicious 2-week campaign over the duration of the inquest to demonise Tommy Nicol in order to cover up this state-sponsored death. Sky News have also abandoned the long-suffering family of now deceased IPP prisoner Charlie Noakes. Charlie Noakes was sentenced to an IPP prison sentence with a tariff totalling only months, yet similar to Tommy, endured multiple back-to-back 2-year parole board knockbacks due to offending behaviour courses not being able to be provided by the state. Charlie endured these parole board knockbacks in dim-lit corners of draconian Victorian prison cells with poor legal representation due to the legal aid cuts, as well as a custody-hungry offender manager from an organisation, the National Probation Service, which MPS whistleblowers have described as broken, divided and ineffective. At both of the parole board hearings of Charlie Noakes and Tommy Nicol, the parole board dossiers were incomplete due to the devastating influx and irreversible damage caused by 6,000 IPPs into an already broken prison estate in a 7-year period between April 2005 and November 2012, after the European Court of Human Rights at Strasbourg condemned the sentence. So, why has Sky News abandoned a modern-day massacre of the magnitude of IPP? Upon closer inspection of Sky News' Jordan Milne's Twitter feed, we can see on the day in question of the CJTV Sky News hijack, Jordan Milne was way too busy to talk to us about the massacre and the rising death toll of IPP because she was too busy reporting and tweeting divisive tweets inciting hatred of Tommy Robinson.
In the image here, we can see responses to Jordan Milne's divisive tweets, which create division and abuse. Crime and Justice TV delved a bit deeper into Jordan Milne's Twitter feed, as well as Mark White, who's a Home Affairs correspondent, and what we uncovered was shocking. On both of the Twitter feeds of these senior Sky News professionals, we have tweet after tweet after tweet reporting on only crimes committed by vulnerable and marginalised groups and crimes committed from people who live in only poor socio-economic communities. The crimes that both of these Sky News professionals focus on are knife crimes, county drugs, low-level drug dealing, and murders committed by predominantly black men. Interestingly, within the exact same time frame in which Jordan Milne and Mark White of Sky News had reported on crimes perpetrated by predominantly black men who were resident in only poor socio-economic marginalised communities, other cases committed by the rich and powerful were not reported on by Jordan Milne and Mark White of Sky News. Tory MP Christopher Davies, for example, within this time frame was charged and admitted government fraud. Also, farm manager George Perrott and the farming division of Devon's biggest landowner were both cleared of the death of farm worker Kevin Dorman on farmland. In yet another shocking case within the same time frame, 11-year-old girl Eva Janeth was killed at a theme park, yet no gross negligence or corporate manslaughter charges were brought. Jordan Milne and Mark White reported on none of these cases committed by the rich and the powerful and scores like them within the same time frame. Shockingly, within this time frame, big hitting child protection and child sex paedophile expert Jim Gamble had reported on an epidemic of child sex porn paedophilia on the dark web, where vulnerable children are sold to the highest bidder within rich and powerful elite VIP paedophile networks. Sky News did not report on this story.
This sad state of affairs showcases to the world the middle-class, predominantly white, top-tier staffing system diseased to the core with racial bias that controls and runs the global media broadcasting organisation that is Sky News. This story also highlights, in no uncertain terms, that this global media organisation ignores serious real issues that affect good, law-abiding citizens of the United Kingdom to instead focus on chasing around Tommy Robinson to stir up hatred. Finally, this story also highlights to the world how modern-day 21st century criminal justice systems protect the rich and powerful whilst targeting, criminalising and demonising the poor, the marginalised and the vulnerable in exactly the same manner as their state-controlled media counterparts, who push political ideologies on behalf of said state. Modern thinkers and aspiring up-and-coming journalists and broadcasters may wish to think long and hard before joining organisations such as Sky News, and may wish to consider modern-day independent grassroots journalism and broadcasting which covers crimes committed by all of those in society, including the rich and the powerful. Crime and Justice TV has uncovered shocking abuse, bullying, Class A drug dealing and Class A drug using, as well as entrenched institutional racism at the approved premises probation hostel, The Pines in Bournemouth, Dorset, UK.
In these exclusive only to Crime and Justice TV images provided to Crime and Justice TV by an anonymous whistleblower on the inside, one can observe residents of the Bournemouth Pines approved premises probation hostel comatose in the daytime off street heroin and prescription drugs peddled by Class A drug dealers active resident in the Pines probation hostel. One can observe these men out cold, off drugs, dribbling at the mouth at 5 p.m. in the daytime, while probation hostel staff only 3 or 4 meters away sleep on duty. Interestingly, the same staff on duty during this time frame were the exact same staff from back in 2016 whom slept on duty while long-suffering IPP prisoner and severe epilepsy sufferer Mark Forbes drowned in the bath and died, again only a few meters away from sleeping staff. Again, this state-sponsored death of an IPP prisoner was covered up by the state via state-controlled civil servant puppet prisons and probation ombudsman Nigel Newcomen. In the small pockets of time when the Pines probation hostel staff were not sleeping, they would spend their time shooting the breeze and shopping on eBay. And they would do so less than a metre away from the signs to the entrance of the Pines probation hostel, which claimed to offer the highest standards of rehabilitation. In these other exclusive images, exclusive only to Crime and Justice TV, again provided by an anonymous whistleblower on the inside, we can see that the resident in question residing at the Pines probation hostel was only being paid £185 per month by Universal Credit, of which Pines AP manager Joe was demanding £120 for rent or threatening the resident with recall to prison. When the resident challenged staff on this issue, he was ridiculed, mocked, called a crybaby and a drama queen. Many residents have turned to self-harming and drugs and alcohol to cope with the abuse from the Pines hostel approved premises probation staff workers Joe, Diane, Peter and Sue. Also, alarmingly, Crime and Justice TV has learned that money to the value of £105 was sent to a Pines hostel resident and then stolen by approved premises Pines staff, and when the resident challenged staff, he was told to shut up and get on with it, and was told there is nothing you can do about it. Due to the breathtaking nature of this exclusive Crime and Justice TV expose, Crime and Justice TV decided to investigate further, investigating lead probation officer Angela Cossins' Twitter feed, only to discover that this Twitter feed was not actually an authentic Twitter account, but was instead a state-controlled, Rory Stewart-controlled, Ministry of Justice-controlled, British government-controlled propaganda machine. Angela Cossins is the most senior probation officer covering the area of the Pines Hostel in Bournemouth, and this is what Crime and Justice TV discovered. Tweet after tweet after tweet after tweet projecting an image of togetherness, a great work environment, great approved premises work, changing lives together, the approved probation hostel experience as a positive experience for service users, great engagement with service users, approved premises probation hostels winning competitions, hugs with IPP prisoners, an AP practice of good ideas, great ideas, and good practice shared. Crime and Justice TV does not smoke, but if that changes in the future, which is very unlikely, a couple of spliffs of what this senior probation officer promoting this codswallop is smoking would be very nice indeed. Veteran freedom fighter and full-time legend Baroness Doreen Lawrence said in her judgment and wisdom after a 25-year quarter-century battle for justice for her son Stephen Lawrence against the British government, you will never ever get to the bottom of British government corruption and police corruption because the state will not allow it. So that may or may not be true, but what is true and what Crime and Justice TV is certain about is that this judgment from Baroness Doreen Lawrence will be the foundation on which we build on for the future. On all group photos that Crime and Justice TV discovered on the senior probation officer's Twitter feed, there was not one black or minority ethnic person in any of the photos.
Also apparent and on show to the entire world here with this story is the middle class, predominantly white, upper tier, racially biased staffing system which runs and controls the National Probation Service, consistent with upper tier staffing systems across all mainstream state-sponsored or otherwise institutions across the entirety of the United Kingdom, which have a responsibility of care over vulnerable clients and residents such as social services, prisons, care homes, secure units, as well as young offenders institutions. Don't believe the hype. Crime and Justice TV brings you the truth. Also in this week's news, modern day barbarian IPP killer prisons minister Rory Stewart has been observed all over the internet commentating on issues that have absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with his job description, prisons minister, i.e. Brexit.
Every day, all week, Rory Stewart is all over mainstream social media commentating on an issue which has got absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the particulars of his job description of prisons minister. Instead, Rory Stewart is commentating on Brexit, and more Brexit. Meanwhile, in the year up to September 2018, there were 325 prison deaths. These rates of death have doubled in the past decade. Prisons are failing to learn lessons from self-inflicted prison deaths, for inspectors found that a third of prisons visited had not implemented recommendations from the PPO well enough following a self-inflicted death. Rates of self-harm are the highest ever on record. There was a staggering and alarming 49,565 acts of self-harm in 2018 alone. In 2017, there were almost 50,000 cases opened on prisoners at risk of suicide. In the year up until June 2018, there was an astonishing 9,485 assaults on staff, a 209% increase in only 5 years. Sexual assaults in prison have tripled since 2012. In 2017, there was a shocking 395 recorded sexual assaults. The prison estate has been overcrowded every year since 1994.
So when modern-day barbarian IPP killer prisons minister Rory Stewart is not commentating on issues that have absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with his job description, prisons minister, such as Brexit, has he found time to focus on the particulars of said job description?
It would appear not, for Crime and Justice TV could uncover no evidence whatsoever that Rory Stewart, prisons minister, is focusing any of his attention whatsoever on dealing with the rising prison death toll, and instead could only find evidence of Rory Stewart tweeting about fizzy water, honey, sugar bowls and Afghanistan trays.
And finally, in this week's news, grassroots pressure movement, the National Family Action Alliance, has released footage exclusively to Crime and Justice TV of the pressure movement challenging the chair of the Justice Committee, Bob Neal MP, on the alarming and staggering and despicable death toll, the rising death toll, ongoing death toll of the banned and barbaric IPP sentence.
Of course, the other thing that quite rightly
Sorry, Bob, I'm going to have to cut you with respect, okay? I'm Pepsi Watson. I'm here on behalf of the National Family Action Alliance, okay? 3,000 men and women still remain detained in custody. 3,000 men and women. It's an absolutely despicable state of affairs, okay? Tommy Nicol, the inquest that's... No, people are dying. Short tariff, post tariff IPPs, years beyond tariff, with autism and learning difficulties, are dying are cutting their throats and bleeding out in our Victorian draconian prison system, okay?
Please don't.
Years and years over tariffs. Sorry,
This is
people
not
are
the-
dying.
this is not the time.
No, people are
This is
dying.
not the time.
Tommy Nicol
you to leave.
Tommy Nicol killed himself,
Look.
okay, in the Mount Segregation Unit. So did Charlie Noakes. So did 135 other
We've done
IPP
a
men
lot
and
of
women.
work on this. You've been really. It's not appropriate. There will be a question and answer session if you stay, but if you choose to carry on being disruptive, I would ask you to leave. And I don't mind if you're filming me. That's fine.
Okay.
You're being very insulting to a charity that's got an AGM, and I would ask you to leave or be quiet. It's your choice.
The British government,
I know,
okay?
we know that.
Bob Neal,
Please,
I've been
come on.
contacting you for months and
Right,
months
right,
and
can you
months.
please
You
leave?
ignore our petitions,
Please
you
leave.
ignore our campaigns, okay? The British government are going to feel the full force of the National Family Action Alliance.
Okay.
This is the biggest... Take your hands off
Please
me.
leave.
Take your hands off me. IPP is the biggest and worst mass miscarriage of
I want you
justice,
to leave.
and it is the worst human rights abuses since Nazi death
You're
camps in
not.
Auschwitz.
Otherwise we'll
Okay,
have to-
the Howard League are complicit, and so is the Justice
we'll
Committee.
handle the-
Okay,
please,
you're going to
please,
feel the
please.
full force of the National Family Action Alliance. Okay.
Please leave now.
Yeah,
Just leave.
yeah, you're complicit. It's
Just leave.
state-sponsored murder. IPP is state-sponsored murder.
Such is the theme of this week's bulletin. In the National Family Action Alliance close-up footage, we see not one black or minority ethnic person at the event. Modern thinkers may wish to consider the critical need for mainstream penal reform organisations being totally and completely and absolutely and entirely independent from the Ministry of Justice and the British government, if they are to represent and fight for the rights and the needs of those in prison. Modern thinkers may also wish to consider the need of building teams and organisations, penal reform organisations, with professionals from all backgrounds and from a range of differing cultures. That concludes this week's Crime and Justice TV bulletin. Don't believe the hype. The Crime and Justice TV network will continue to bring you the truth. Go to the GoFundMe link in the description, support Crime and Justice TV weekly bulletin, and I will bring you balls of steel, grassroots, real issues that matter to you. I wish you all good health, I wish you prosperity, and may you love by recognising yourself in others. I like being a journalist.